I didn't know what grass felt like under your foot as a kid or anything. I was the crippled kid on the porch. It was called that. There were things I never got to experience, and there were things I was afraid to. I had never known what the texture of sand felt like until yesterday. You know, the ocean, or even getting on rocks and stuff like that. I never felt those things till yesterday.
Thank you for joining us on the Evolve Your Brand podcast. I am your host, Ollie Amirkhiz. Just wanted to give a huge shout out to Icon Industries, Shane, Steven, the whole entire team here. We could not do this without them. They are phenomenal. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out. Today, I have been looking for this for weeks. James Dixon. Superman is for real. Thank you so much for joining us.
Man, I'm honored to be here, brother. Honored to be here. Icon is phenomenal, and so are you.
James, do you know what when I met you, I have never, ever seen a person put down people's guard quicker than I met you. The sincerity that you have and how you interact with people was absolutely mind-blowing.
Wow. Man, if that's a tribute to, it's weird to say this, everything that I do, everything that I am, is trying to honor one. And that one was, first of all, it's God. That's my faith, right? But the second is my grandmother. And so every time I interact with people, it's a reflection on what she told me I should do. And so with this space of time, the same woman that put a belief in me that I could be great, do great things, also loved everyone, opened her arms and embraced people. And I just want to honor her. So when I'm interacting with you, I treat you in a way that would honor her.
James, what was your grandmother's name?
Keziah.
Keziah?
Yes.
Did she raise you?
Yeah, she was everything to me. She was the one that believed in me until, as people who don't know this, that are watching the first time, but I lost my leg as a kid. But I had started having surgeries when I was 3 months old. And that's it. So from 3 months of age until I was 11, I had surgery every 6 months. And so I never walked. If I did, it was with a walker, with assistance. It was special bracing and all those things that I needed. And so when they took my leg, I lost my hope. And it was my grandmother who told me I could be Superman. You know, she said, baby, you just got to overcome the kryptonite. She didn't call me a cripple. She didn't allow others to keep that in my head. And as a result of it, I was always close to her. And she didn't live long enough to see me fulfill that promise to her, that I would become who I am now, right? So when I'm treating or interacting with you, it's my thank you to her.
How do you channel that every day and hold on to it? Because it's so much work, and I've seen you, like, you give all that you have to every person. How do you channel that every day in yourself to be able to give that much to others?
Brother, you're about to this is about to be a whole different cast right here. Watch this.
I've been looking forward to this. I've been prepared.
I worked in a factory because it became easy. You know, it's a way of resigning to my goals so I could work a job and make an income, make six figures just working every day, 10, 12-hour days, and third generation working in a factory. But while I was there, I was putting myself on mute. There was no one that would know that I existed. There was no way that you would know I did anything. My obituary would have just read that I was born, I worked a number of years at a factory, and the moment I died, they replaced me same day, right? But I didn't want to leave that legacy. I decided I would do something and get bold about the fact that I'm an amputee, but I give hope to people. And so at 45, I decided it was enough. And I wore shorts for the first time publicly, unapologetically. And when I crossed that Rubicon, man, and said, I'm going to wear shorts, that seems like a small thing in some people's lives. But to me, that was everything. And I was very vulnerable that day. And I made the promise, anybody that laughs today at me, anything, we're fighting on sight. And because I'm trying to overcome something. I had gotten a new prosthetic that gave me a lot more capabilities. And when I came to work, all my coworkers wore shorts with me, and it moved me, right? And then there were people that didn't even know I was an amputee because I had tried to hide it for so long. I'd mimicked the gait of a person with two legs. I could mimic and stuff. But what I had learned in passing and hiding helped me perfect some things that I ended up being able to take and teach other amputees, veterans. And so then I spent the next couple of years working with people all over the country, teaching them things that they didn't know how to do, soldiers, how to walk again, you name it. And so when I was with them, sometimes I was with people like a Mr. Francis Bell. And I know this is a long answer to what you asked me, but Mr. Francis Bell was an Army veteran, and his family got a hold of me, and they were like, hey, he's going to have an amputation. Can you encourage him? And so I meet up with the guy, meet him at the hospital, and he calls me coach. You know, it's the moment I come in. This man is in his late 70s. He's full of life and a fight. That warrior is still in him. And we were all set, getting him set up to get his leg. The VA will pay for it, but he's on dialysis. And it just so happened that they said that his heart wouldn't be strong enough to continue. And so at that point, they say, well, there's no more dialysis, which means now you're sent home for hospice to die.
Right.
Mr. Bell said, James, I don't want to die unless I'm whole. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, I want my leg. The leg they promised me. I want to die a whole man. And so for Mr. Bell, I went and talked to every prosthetist, and I was able to get a friend of mine to force the people that worked under him to go make one within 12 hours. And I went and got it for him, but it wouldn't be complete without getting a Harley sticker on it because he was a Harley guy. And so I drove and found a Harley dealership, and they had a decal. $5 it cost me. I go get it. I come back. They had put on the leg on him, and I knew what he was waiting on for it. And so I put the Harley Davidson sticker on it, and I shake his hand, and he says, thank you. His family celebrates. And then he passed away whole. You see, when you interact with people and in their last moment, and you fulfill wishes and dreams, and you're there, and they don't have a way of telling their story again, and you're left to tell it. That's why every moment I treat as my last, because I started so late, and I feel like I have a debt to him. I have a debt to my grandmother. I have a debt to my own self to make sure that I leave this earth empty, that everything I was born for, everything I was called to do, I have to do that. And there's no way in the world I want to stand before God and he showed me what I could have been. I want to exceed what was expected out of me.
You're not leaving this fucking planet without regret, with any regret.
No way, brother.
I don't even know where to begin. Like, how do you handle that type of impact when you have such a profound difference on people?
Mm.
Like, how do you process that every day to say, like, this is my purpose?
Well, it's like when you discover why you were here, you realize that the loss of my leg, the thing I hid, the denial of my humanity, the denial of my parentage from my father, my mom slapping me saying that you're a cripple, that's all you'll be. Do you understand that? You go through those moments and you realize that all that trauma was to make you triumphant. You know, you needed that. You needed to have so that you get, sometimes there's somebody probably watching me and it feels isolated, alone, nobody cares for me and all those things. Man, you are being crafted to be something special. There's no way all those assassins in life come after your goals and dreams unless you were meant to be somebody significant and phenomenal. And so now I realize that I was being trained, man. There's a special purpose on my life. And when I discovered it, I'm 50 now. That means 5 years is all I've been living, my purpose. And so the rest was all practice. Now I'm finally in the game, you know, and I'm like, I'm going to win, man. I'm going to help others win. So that's what I'm here for.
I connect so much with the story that you're telling, and I've been, you know, you make so many mistakes in life, you know, and as a man, you know, there's this Like, you have to be hard all the time. There's no fucking give.
Yeah.
You're a man. You got to perform. You got to show up for your family. You got to do all these things. And it's humbling when you wake up that one day and you're like, I'm not living the life I was destined to. And this has hit me in the past 12 months. That what difference am I making every day for others? Am I living with a pure heart, with a sincere heart? Am I going above and beyond? What's your ultimate goal? Like, you said you've been at this for 5 years.
Oh,
like,
man.
You've made
So,
such a huge difference.
Listen, God puts people in your life for a reason. You and I are not having a conversation. You and I are talking to hundreds of thousands, if not a million people. Maybe not today, but eventually it will circulate. It becomes viral. Somebody will hear this. And so every day I want to reach out and touch some people. The Absolute Motivations, the YouTube channel, and Icon helped put together a video that went on the channel this week. And it was the first time I really started showing my face. But I've got a guy named Naveed and a guy named Azim that work with me. And these two guys are helping me reach the goal of reaching 1 billion people. We've reached 129 million views, right? And people say that's significant. But that's a small number compared to what our goal is to reach 1 billion folks, man. That's possible, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, and then after that, I'll have to set a new goal. But I'm not stopping at just where we are.
James, I know you talk about your purpose, your mission, all the people that you love, and you have to show up for them. Like, I guess, what motivates someone like you to say, I have to impact 1 billion people? How does that happen?
Man, I know the power of a word, right? When my mom came in and the nurse was like, hey, listen, James, even though you lost your leg, you're going to play sports. You're going to be great. You're going to do something significant with your life. And she was building up my hopes, my dreams. And my mom walks in, and based off of my resume, my mom had never seen me do any of those things. And so hearing a woman tell me that I could be so great, I could do these things, she was going off of what she had seen of me. He's never done that before. Why would he begin? And so she told her to stop giving me false hope, then slapped me and said, I need you to understand something. You're a cripple. Now say it. And when I called myself a cripple for her sake, it broke me. My grandmother came, and when she spoke over me about being Superman, and that was not the cartoon. She's talking about being a symbol of hope. You know, she gave me hope. She gave me belief. So I know the power of a word, because a word spoke over me. Hope is something that was given to me. And so I took the small Superman necklace I had and increased the size of it because my goals increased. And so I wore it big enough that people can see it so I could then pass that on to someone else, you know? And that's
James,
it.
pretty soon you're Superman here. I'll be freaking ordering it for you. It's gonna be body size for you.
Yeah, man. I gotta pass hope on, because hope, man, that changes things, you know?
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do you want to leave on our youth? Like, what do you think about?
Oh, man.
Do you interact with a lot of young people?
I do, you know? There's a little boy right now named Jeremiah. He's 11. He's in Alabama with cancer, and he lost his leg above the knee. Things were challenging for him. His family, his grandmother reached out to me, and it reminded me of me, and she reminds me of my grandmother and how invested she is. The city has embraced him and loved on him, but there's a challenges for him. And before he went into surgery to amputate the leg, the fact that they called me on FaceTime, with Messenger, through Facebook rather, and they called me through Messenger, and they had me pray with him and the doctor before surgery. You see, when you can be here sharing a message and someone connects with you saying, we need that and we need it now, right? And so this 11-year-old boy is laying there, and so when you see, if I can show you images, to see this kid there, and then afterwards seeing him with the tubes and seeing him there, and then encouraging the family, the father, the mother, to believe, and then that he's not only going to make it, but he'll thrive, you know? because I get to pass that baton on to him. So I see all these other kids. And so when I travel to hospitals and I speak to them, I see versions of myself and I show them what they will be, because there was no one to mentor me. And so there's more than one James now, because Jeremiah's coming and he's going to carry my message long after my last breath.
You have positive disciples.
Yeah, man, guys that are going to take this message, man,
Holy
and they'll take it
shit.
further than I have, you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even, when you said that, I was thinking to myself, I have 3 boys, and I took being a parent for granted. And I regret it, because like when you live life, especially with how fast-paced our society is, sometimes you lose sight of what really matters. Like, what impact am I leaving on the youth? Do they understand hard work and hope and commitment to oneself? And, you talk about Jeremiah, like what 11 years old, who thinks that they're going to go through those life challenges? I don't think most adults can handle that.
That's right.
So for you to have the power of hope, holy shit.
Come on, man. You give somebody that, it becomes a superpower, right? And, in youth, sometimes youth can make you feel you're invincible, but when you've lost something, you don't feel invincibility. You need hope, right? That you can still accomplish and do things and lose the comparative aspect to everyone else. There are people that I felt envious of watching growing up. I saw people run, dunk, do things, and I thought I'd never be able to do. But what I've learned is, instead of envying, you can become. Right?
Yeah.
And so I may I'll never take it down in the NFL, but I can speak to the NFL. I may not play basketball in the NBA, but I can then speak and mentor coaches. And these things have happened in my life. So now I realize that, man, every dream that you have, it may not come to fruition the way you thought of it. It may come bigger and better. Because if I had had my prime at 18 and been a varsity star, man, I would have been settled in life and been bragging about what once was. And that was just a moment in time. I would rather have this prime now than I've had it then.
At 45, to make that drastic of a life change, do you remember the triggering moment? Like, what was the moment?
I do. They told me that the insurance had approved me getting a new leg. You see, the one I had been wearing, let me tell you, I didn't have insurance and it was a pre-existing condition because I started a new job. And so the leg had broke and I used electrical duct tape to keep it together. It would rub and cause boils, pain, and I just dealt with it because I had to take care of my family. And so I just dealt with it. And I walked on equivalent of 18 miles a night on that assembly line, and I couldn't say anything about it because I was a temp. If I missed a day, I'd lose the job. And so I just worked, and I've dealt with the pain. And there are a whole lot of fathers, kids never realize how much we have endured, or parents, period, that endure some things, sacrifice so that your kids can have, never realizing the toll that is taken on you to do it. And so when I found out that I could get a new leg, and this one would be lighter, it'd be better, I'd have energy returned to it, I'd be able to lift, run, do all the things that I had been unable to do because of the condition of the broken down prosthetic I had. You see, when I got that leg, I came to a prosthetic place and they built it, and the guy said, run. And I was unsure about it. And so I started running, and it was so life-changing in that moment that the marathon story that's in the book happened 2 days after I got that new leg. I did a marathon 2 days later because all limitations came off me that day. And that day that I ran, my mom was there. And though she never ever apologized for what she said back in the day, it was good that she didn't, because if I had only done things, sometimes we're like this. You want validation. You want people to come back and say, I was wrong. They'll never do it. And even if they did it, it wouldn't be sufficient enough, right? But you can't run off the fuel of proving them wrong. You got to find love for yourself. You got to find love for what you do. You got to find love for a purpose, something that's bigger than revenge, because that is the thing that eats you up. And I was running not for my mom. I was running for myself now. I was running with belief, man. I finally lost some limitations, and I wanted to find out if life had none, you know? So that's what changed at 45. I got a prosthetic. That insurance changed everything.
I can feel the freedom, like when you, like that's what it feels like. You're like, it was. I feel like I finally was set free to live the life I was meant to.
There it goes.
I went to church for the first time in my life this year.
Wow.
And it was one of the most incredible, and I want to talk to you about this because you talked about faith, and I think a lot of what inspires me about you is the faith that you have in yourself and people, you know, because you have faith in people. How is that? How has the faith in God helped you?
Man, there is a quote that is timeless. And it's Philippians 4:13. It says, I can do all things. But it's not just I can do all things. It all finishes through Christ, which strengthens me. And the purpose of that is two parts. I can do all things. That's taking limits off of our lives. It's through Christ. So it's in his ability to empower me to do things because I get weak. Life can beat you down. But what will strengthen you is the belief that if God be with me, I'm not alone. Mm-hmm. And when the Bible says that God is a father to the fatherless, it healed an aspect for me of being abandoned. When he said that I can do all things, that included me in spite of what I didn't have. Through Christ is the pathway, man. In order to get to him, you got to go through some dark moments to see light. And then when you see him, you realize that, man, those dark moments with him being in my life gave me the inspiration to get through it. You see, if all we had was just sheer will and our family members, then we have nothing but roles.
Yeah.
Right? And roles change. You and I are sons. But one day, those people will be gone and will be former sons. Our children can pass, can be former fathers. We're dead, but they're not here anymore. Roles can change. You could be a CEO or lose that job or whatever. Roles change, but your identity, that thing stays. An identity found in your faith and your purpose, that's the thing that will last. I'm going to leave an inheritance, but it won't just be a financial. I hope my kids will also pick up my faith. My son's senior night, one of the things that really touched me is that, you know, we just had a senior night for soccer, and they announce all these things that the kids have said, these quotes as you're walking on the field. And they said, James says the best advice ever given, this is my son, Junior, goes, it's Philippians 4:13. That's the quote I have on my leg. It's the one I had put on this new one. And to see that my son said that was the best advice ever given. You see, I gave my son an inheritance, and he got to take it now rather than before I die, once I die, you know?
James, you know, it's, I've wanted that moment with my boys where you're like, how do I actually earn the right to be a positive force in their lives? Because I don't think about being a role model like for my kids. I just want to show them that anything is achievable in this world when you do right and you put the positive things out there. So you just have such a positive message that, you know, I think we need to be more advocates of, you know, and it's inspiring to say life can change. It doesn't fucking matter how old you are.
Dude, you're already doing it. But look at this. Here's the thing. Your sons they take for granted because they see you every day. They saw you every day. They saw everything you did, but they didn't understand what you went through to become you.
Right.
Right? And once life hits them, then their appreciation will only grow for you because they're like, how did you navigate through that? Dad, how did you navigate through this? I got relationship issues. I got these challenges. I feel this way. How did you deal with that? And all of a sudden, their respect grows because they see that there was something in you that they didn't see before. Otherwise, you know how many kids have found out how great their fathers were at the funeral when the people get up and tell the stories? But you're out here doing this now. These are not podcasts you're doing.
No.
You know, these are interviews your kids will watch long after you and I are gone. Our grandkids will see and learn what we were like. We're leaving a digital diary.
Not only are we leaving a digital diary, like I think, James, the impact that you leave on people, they hold on to that. I'll share this with you.
Yeah.
Shane told me a story about you. He said you came into the studio and you sent a message to his son. He was going through something and you sent a message to his son.
Yeah. I forgot about that.
I listened.
Yeah.
How many people do you know that do that kind of giving gesture? I can count on one hand. Like, I think you've inspired me in this way. If you can leave everyone with a positive impact, a smile on their face, the power within to know that they can accomplish, I can do that.
Not only are you doing that, you're doing that. That's right. Yeah.
That's it. Every day. Yeah. It's about stories. Like, do you know how selfish I feel, James, sitting here sometimes when I get to talk to someone like you? I feel selfish for learning so much.
Wow. No, man, this is how we transfer and we grow. I was thinking about when you and I met at the event in Vegas. I'll tell you this. People ask, like, you get up and speak, do you feel nerves or anything like that? Yeah. I don't. I was crying before I ever went up. And I was trying to collect myself because I knew that I came to do something, and that was to leave everything on that floor. So I was sitting there preparing to be emotionally available for every one of them and to transfer that hope, that passion, that purpose. And when I left there, when I put down the mic, there wasn't anything left, you know. I'd given them my all. And as a result of that, as powerful and strong as veterans are, I spent almost 3 hours afterwards hearing people, hearing their stories, and I stayed until the last man to make sure that every one of them felt heard and accepted, and you know, and I was like, this is what we're born for, man. That transference, you know.
I couldn't agree with you more. What was so we went to the financial freedom event and you brought it up. Mm-hmm. What stood out to you about that event? You talked about veterans.
You know, there were just moments for me. Probably the things that stood out was the ladies that told me about the times they were about to take their life, you know, and they didn't. The fact that there were people who said they saw that I was coming and came, you know, and I was like, wow, what a responsibility I felt then, you know, like the fact that they came and the lady said, I got 2 of my friends to come and all 3 of us have contemplated taking our lives. And because I just had that thought, I was like, I got to come meet this guy. And she said, we've been watching you and we found the group tickets and we came and wanted to meet you. And I was like, wow, and so that's those moments, man, you know, and so I tried to make sure I gave them as much time as possible, you know, and I don't put on a performance. I'm going to just be real. It's just, there's no motivational speaker button to turn on where you can do it and all that stuff, man. It literally is, you know, hearing them out, helping them set goals. And then you have to have the fortitude to stay at it, you know, and be accountable to someone. There's no way that we make it in this world alone. And so I'm always trying to build that positive network. Like beyond this, Ollie, you and I will continue to communicate, you know?
I don't even know what to say. Like, I want to surround myself with people like yourself, James, like, because your mission for life is so much bigger than the minuscule things that we focus on every day.
Yeah, I appreciate it, brother.
I think that
I'm humbled, man. I appreciate you.
well, I mean, think about it this way. You had talked about you were with 6 people. Can you share that story with us? Like,
yeah, I will. So this is how that actually began. I was at the gym, and it was working out with a guy, and he's like, "Hey, I saw you were an amputee." I was like, "Yes," and he said, "Well, I work with some people, and I got a sales team. I wonder if you would come speak at this little thing I have at the hotel." And I was like, "Yeah," I had not been speaking in those circles or anything. And he was like, "If you could, just for 15 minutes, just stop by." And I was like, "Okay." So I stopped by this hotel, and I go in, and then he was like, "It's a conference, but it was 6 people. And so I get in there, and when he said conference, I was expecting, conference. That 6 people, that's a conversation. That's not a conference, right? And so when I walk in, and he does a little intro, and he said, "This guy I met at the gym. He does great stuff." Lots like, "James, come up and talk to." And so he does a little intro, and I just started talking to them, and it was just from the heart. I didn't have a speech prepared. I didn't have anything, and by the time that I was done, I did. Each one of them came up and they were hugging me and talking and thanking me, and I had to get to work, so I had to go. And they're like, "James." So as I'm driving to work, I get a call saying, "Hey, can you come here? Can you come there?" Each one of those people had a sphere of influence that was massive. I'm talking about international opportunities, speaking, national events, speaking, regional events, speaking. And then when I go from one place, I mean, so many things happen. When I spoke at the one national event from that 6 people, the president from Iceland tells me, "You're the greatest speaker I've ever heard." And I was like, "Well, thank you, man." And it was uncomfortable because it's not the way I'd ever seen myself or even viewed myself as a speaker. In fact, I was saying probably the most inappropriate stuff in the speech, because HR would tell you they don't want you to say that someone's fat. Right?
Okay, right.
And I was like, "Well, I was running a marathon. All I want to do is outrun the fat people." And they're like, "You can't say that." I'm like, okay. So you learn that you have to say, "I want to outrun the high calorie people." No. You want to say, you come up with, it is, but you wanted to run. It's like, okay. So you do mature in some of the things you say, but what I did need to change was the fact that I was pure. I was saying it from the heart. And the more I began to do that, more opportunities began. And you don't realize how your message begins to create a momentum, and the momentum becomes a movement. And then all of a sudden, people begin to connect with it because it's authentic. And the voice that's always people like, "You got a deep voice," turns into, you got a unique voice that's recognizable. Then it's the way you say something, man. That's powerful. And people begin to affirm you. So for all those years, you didn't know what you were supposed to be. You were always being rejected. Here comes those compliments. Here comes those affirmations from people that have no reason to lie to you or to encourage you, but they're authentic, and they just tell you, you got, and you realize that, man, I'm walking into my purpose. It's not because they affirmed you. Is that they reminded you what God told you when you were in your own. That stuff when you're laying in bed and you have these thoughts, you can't sleep, and you have those conversations that God's having with you then. And so I knew I was in my element. There was no nerves, there was no fear. It was just, I came to do a job. I came to impact their lives. And when I leave here, I don't want to give them, you can't teach kids to ride a bike at a seminar, right? But what you can do is give them instructions for when they get home. And that's what I try to give. Inspiration that doesn't just last that moment, but that will last the rest of their life. They'll always remember not only the way I made them feel, but something I said,
It's the empowerment that you share.
Yeah.
It's the empowerment that you share. Because you're not imposing it, James. Like, I never feel like, in listening to you, it's never felt like, "Hey, this is what I've lived. This is what's right for me. This is what's right for you." It's very like, it's about the power. Hey, this is what I achieved
Yeah,
because I believed and inspired it.
no. And anybody that tells you they did it alone lies. You see, all along the way, there's somebody that helps you. Someone encourages you. Yeah, God will direct and order your steps, man, but he uses people. The relationship you develop with Shane Stephen, look at the things that are becoming, right? And they're helping you get your voice out and to touch people's lives. It's people.
James, when I talk about Shane and Stephen, there are enough words about the incredible human beings that they are. That's so much more important. I bend over backwards for them because whatever they need, I'm there for.
Yeah.
Like that's. I want to be an advocate for positive change. Positive change. Like there's so much power that we have. That's why I'm so, like, when you talk about absolute motivation, it's the power that one person can show and change at any time that they want when they make the choice to do it.
Come on, man. Yeah. See, this is why I love talking with people like you, because, and there are very few people like you with a heart like that, because most of the time we get on, man, we go into these acts of personalities that are not us, that we don't sustain. But this is the same conversation we were having when we were in chairs, Same conversation, It's just the people are seeing it. That's the only difference,
As far as I'm concerned, like anybody that watches this, like you watch it for 5 minutes, you're going to want to do something differently.
Yeah.
You're going to want to go do something differently because, like, I think that's the power of, so what is your opinion about branded marketing? Like you said you're focused on it now. How come it's become important for you to work on that brand?
So here's the thing. The longer you stay on mute, man, you rob so many people of a voice. There's people out here when it comes to branding marketing. I'm reminded of a friend of mine, one of the best female empowerment speakers, coaches in the world. Her name is Kohila, and from Sri Lanka, right? And lives in Canada now, but she teaches teachers to teach kids to change their lives. And without branding, they would never know about her. They would never know about what she does. If you don't speak up, if you don't allow yourself in your life to be a megaphone, and it's free to be on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, use those things to the best of your ability so that the world can hear you. The solution between someone living and dying is to hearing your voice, right? And this is how I know it. Because there was a guy named Pat that was living in Muncie, Indiana. And Pat needed an encouraging word. And by the time they told me about him, he had already decided to take his life. And then when Pat took his life, it changed me because I felt like if only I'd been louder, if I'd only had gotten there. Because I used to suffer this idea, I don't want to be a narcissist and be talking about myself. I don't want to be bragging or seem that way. That's not the way it is, because if your heart was that way, you wouldn't even consider that. But when I get louder about who I am and that I'm here for someone, that I want you to live. I want you to find your purpose. I want you to know that somebody cares about the sacrifices you've made as a soldier or as a father, as a person, that you may be feeling isolated, but you are not alone. Right? And so I need you to live. I need you to make the promise to give me one more day, one more message, because you don't know what the 24 hours, if bad things are happening, this too should pass. If great things are happening, this too should pass. But you got to be able to stay there to see the other side of it,
James, you're going to make, this is just as someone that's getting to know you, you're going to make whatever impact that you want. It's that determination for living that I think it's the determination for living and the inspiration for change that blows me away. And I'm really glad that I'm getting this, like getting to know this core person that you are. It's like, holy shit, like mind blown that all of us, we all go through hard times and we sit there and we dwell and reflect. And sometimes the easiest thing is to have faith in ourselves. So, like, you wrote the book. What inspired you to write the book and become an author? I mean, you've accomplished so much. Public speaker, you're an advocate for everything that matters. Like when Buddy Rushing talked about you, I was blown away. It was like you guys had known each other forever. Forever. And how do you build that type of connection within a short period of time? Because you must have, like, who reaches out to you at these events? How many people follow up with you after?
Well, there's a lot there, man, and forgive me being emotional because what I'm going to say, hopefully will last. Man, I am just experiencing so many things, and I wanted to write a thank you note to Grandma. So it's not a book. It tells my journey, but it really revolves around her, and she made a lot of sacrifices for me. And dream for me. Yesterday at 50, I did something I'd never done before. A small thing to most people, but I walked on the beach and I felt sand and water as an amputee. Those were small milestones to everyone else, but it was a major one for me because it was things like she wanted me to experience so much in life. And so when I wrote the book, it's a journey that I've gone through, but it's also a journey of me saying thank you for making me become who I am now. And so I'm going through, man, and I'm knocking off everything that I never thought I would do. I didn't know what grass felt like under your foot as a kid or anything. I was the crippled kid on the porch. It was called that. There were things I never got to experience, and there were things I was afraid to. And yesterday was the first time I'd done so. I had never known what the texture of sand felt like until yesterday. I never knew what the texture, the ocean or even getting on rocks and stuff like that. I never felt those things till yesterday. And it was major moments to me because it was stuff she wanted for me. She wanted me to not have limitations. So the book I wanted to write so I could tell people about her and what she did in my life. And then it became a bestseller and then an international bestseller. But those weren't my goals.
Right.
Yeah, those weren't my goals. I just wanted to tell her thank you.
So your book is a thank you note.
Yeah, that's all it is, brother. And when people read it, they'll find hope in it. And so when you see me standing there, man, the reason why the blue, the sky, and all that stuff, man, is I'm looking to heaven saying thank you. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, she's got to be blown away.
Oh, man.
Like she's sitting there with the biggest smile on her face, like,
yeah.
There's my James. So what was her nickname for you?
Oh, man. So she started calling me Superman.
You know I had to ask.
Yeah, she just called me Superman. And she always said I had an old soul. So the other nickname, she called me Daddy,
Okay.
because she's like, he had an old soul. And, but I picked up on a lot of things, wisdom and things like that, because I spent so much time around her, and when you sit at the foot of someone, that just drops gems all the time, and so you're like, I would just listen here, and it gave me answers or solutions, made me wiser than my years would have allowed. And then what I found is some things didn't make sense to me. She would say something like, you tore your drawers. And I was like, huh? What she meant was you showed your ass.
Oh!
Or she was like, you could, there was all kind of different sayings, quotes that make sense later. And when I would say some things, she's like, babe, just keep living. Like, what does that mean? Yeah. Once you get older, you'll understand what I've told you then and how it makes sense. And so, man, I am so, my heart is so full. Man, I feel like I'm not just living, man, I'm thriving. It's not just because life has been like this, man, but to have your purpose and have profit. right? Because most people think you got to sacrifice in order to live your purpose, and that there's some kind of moral right that you're in because if you stay poor doing it. It's not. No, man, it is. Man, God wants me to prosper, even as my soul prospers, and to be able to impact people and change lives, man.
James, I'd much rather you prosper and do the right things for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Because you're profitable.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the smartest things I've ever heard. Like,
Dude.
listen to any financial person, they'll be like, I can make more of an impact.
That's it. Listen, you can do more with your resources if you have them. If you don't have any, then you don't even have an audience, right? But to have gotten to the point, man, where I can be anywhere I want to be. I can be around those I want to be. That I'm not going to work. I get to go make impact. And people will call me and ask me to do stuff. And I'm like, what do you need me for? And they were like, we got kids that have lost. I'm on my way. This here happened. I had a guy reach out to me, and he had a kid that was in a dark place. And they lived in Utah. I was in Chicago at the time. And they were like, could you talk to him? And I said, okay. So I booked a flight. And so I showed up there. And they were like, James, you didn't have to. I was like, no. You called. You said he was needed. I was needed, so I'm here.
How old was he?
Yeah, and he's 21.
And what's his name?
And his name is Brixton. He lives in Utah. So I flew out there and to meet with him, his brother River. And man, to hear a kid, see, they watched their dad take his life. And there's guilt there, that survivor's remorse, you know? Or what could we have done differently? Why did dad take his life? See, his dad may have shot himself to put the bullet through himself, but he put it through his sons.
Yeah.
You know? And then I needed that kid to realize that just because dad gave up doesn't mean you are not him. His battles, his struggles are not yours. That it is not your fault. You're not to blame for what decisions that he made. In fact, I need to free you from that. I need to encourage you that there's more for you. And to get there and then get him the right people around him and talk with his family and show him that he's loved and supported. And that doesn't mean you can't miss your dad too. But it's time to have a funeral, right? And the purpose of the funeral is where you lay the flowers, but then you have to leave the grave. There's nothing living at the grave. What lives is the memories and the relationships that you had. That goes with you wherever you go. If you really want to make sure that their life is never forgotten, live life big enough for both of you.
Ooh, live life big enough for both of you. When we're at the Financial Freedom event, it really, to hear people talk about their stories of, contemplating taking their life. In those moments, I was really, really humbled because I thought, like, holy shit, my problems compared to what other people live aren't really that problems. You talked about the simple fact of walking in the sand. You gain perspective on things. And I was just blown away that these people can change their lives. And how they weren't just, they didn't just survive. They're thriving.
Yeah.
What if they had gone through? And they would have never had the opportunity to thrive. And I think that's the mind-blowing things is everything is momentary.
That's it, man. Like, what happens in this moment? You know, many times I should have given up. You know, many times I messed up or made wrong choices. You're in the wrong place and all that stuff. And it could have been the end of my chapter. Yeah. Right? And you would live in a day where people can destroy your name through innuendo, gossip, and assassination of your character, even through a lie. Right? And for you to have made it through all those landmines to be here now, there's no way in the world you can take that breath in. And I was like, one of the exercises I do with people that are telling me they want to take their life. I'm going to do this with you now.
Please do.
Do me a favor. Take a deep breath. Now hold it as long as you can before you let it out. When you're forced to let it out, go ahead and do so. You see, here's the thing. As much as you may want to try to hold it, it doesn't belong to you so much so that God makes it that you have to release it because there's a breath that is waiting to come behind it. You see that? no matter how much you tried to hold it, to stop yourself, your will to live forced you to let that out to get the next one, because you still have purpose. You still have purpose. You can still breathing. You still have opportunity.
You got a chance.
That's it.
And all you need is one chance.
That's it, man. You have no idea how many times I thought, oh man, how am I going to cover this? How am I going to pay for this? And somehow there's always a ram in the bush. There's always an opportunity. Something's coming. Yeah. You just don't know it yet.
Yeah. It's because of the way you think.
Yeah.
It's the way that you think.
If you think you're a victim, you know how many people told me I should have just went and got on disability? You lost your leg. There's nothing you can do. Get disability. Well, if I had done that, man, I would have been choosing to live a life so small, so limited, so broken. There's no will. But I didn't see disability because my grandmother didn't see disability. Then my mom finally didn't see it. And then all those around me finally didn't see me that way. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I have to remind myself I lost a leg. You know, I forget about it because I've gotten so busy with living life that it is, I'm like, that's the last thing I remember to describe myself.
Did you ever imagine that would happen?
No, because I was always afraid somebody would find out. That's how ashamed I was. I was always afraid somebody, I can remember lying all the time. People like, hey, I heard somebody had a wooden leg. I don't know who that is. You know, knowing that they were talking about me, right? I had kids, man, that would be so cruel, try to pull my pants leg up. They want to see it, kick it, feel it, whatever. You know, jump me, fight me over it. You know, use it as insults. I even, in lunchtime, 7th grade, I just learned to start walking. Kid comes to school with a sock with a stick in it, with a shoe on this, stick, sock with a shoe on it, and said, hey, I made you a leg, and everyone's laughing. And I had to sit there and pretend to laugh at it, but I felt so demoralized, right? And the way that I think back to that moment, that was actually God showing, hey, listen, the thing you're most ashamed of is going to give you your glory.
Ooh.
Isn't that something? All that kid did was show me an exhibit of the thing that I was ashamed of. He's like, that leg is going to give you a step up. The step you're missing is actually going to give you a platform. And now there's so much more beyond that my story has gone beyond just an amputee story. It's about the human will, and it's about overcoming. It's about perseverance. And I'm exhibit A. Instead of what
you're living proof.
Man, I'm proof.
Every day. Every day's going to be walking on the beach.
That's it, dude. Man, doing that for me, the fact that I'm still experiencing so many first, and man, I'm just like, that's why I love what I do. I love meeting people, talking about different cultures or whatever, you know, and learning. And because as I grow and expand, it allows me to impact people on a whole different level.
Even more people.
That's it. You know?
You have a huge advocate here in San Diego. Who would have ever thought? Yeah. James, we absolutely love you. It's you cannot not be positive when you're around you. It is not allowed. Seriously, man.
I'm honored, brother.
What event do you have coming up that you want to share with the audience that we all need to tune into? Do you have anything big coming up? Obviously, you have your YouTube channel.
Yeah, YouTube.
You have the book.
Absolute Motivation. Go to YouTube channel, subscribe. I promise you, you're going to hear messages that will move you. The message that I gave and the veterans thing is on this week.
Yeah.
But I have an event coming up. Well, I'm always somewhere. In the next couple of days, I'll be in places. But I've got I don't want to push any particular thing. I just want to tell people to please, if you would, do me a favor. If you know someone who's going through something, pick up the book, because what the book is hope. It's a track of encouragement to pass on. You can get it on Amazon. Getting the book to share it means more to me than anything. The events that are coming up, they are constantly coming. But if anyone ever needs me, I'm going to respond. If you write me on Instagram, that's me. I'm going to write back. If you write to me, reach out to me, I'm going to respond. There's never going to be a time where I'm too big and need to delegate that.
James, thank you so much for like being you. I think, you know, when just getting to know you, it's the humility, it's the sincerity, it's that regardless of the success that you have, be authentic, be real, and make a difference. I think that's the message that I take away from you. And I genuinely thank you for that, because that's what's going to change our communities.
Appreciate you, brother.
That's what's going to change our communities. It's all of us rolling up our sleeves and saying, hey, we can actually accomplish more together than what we can divided.
Come on. I'm with you.
A lot more together. James, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have, and we're going to get it on video. I do want to say this. Every time you can come to San Diego, can you please come on the podcast, please?
Count on me. We're going to do it. I got you. We're going to make impact. I can't wait to do it with you.
This is just the beginning. This is so much fun.
James,
thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.